Rose. Thank you for joining us. Good to see you.
Nice to meet you. Yes.
Same here. Thank you very much for having me on your channel. It's a real pleasure.
Amazing. And really glad you're able to join us today. So to start with, how do you take your tea?
How do I take my tea? Wow, that's an interesting one. In actual fact, I'm a massive fan of hot water. I drink liters of hot water. It's something that started a while back. I don't put any tea, I don't put anything inside. I don't drink cold water, summer, winter. I only drink warm water.
That's actually really fascinating. Do you know your perfect temperature for your hot water?
Oh, that's also very, so it's not boiling. Okay, it's not
Okay.
boiling, that's for sure. But it's warm. So I would say it's around 70, 75 degrees, I would say. And it has to be like, I don't want to wait for it to cool down.
Yep.
In actual fact, I don't have a WeeKett kettle yet, and I'm going to get one.
Yeah.
Okay, because I have to boil the water to max, and then I have to empty half a bit out and then put water until I get to my temperature, and then I can drink it straight away.
Yeah. So there are two biggest energy waste for kettles, and that overboiling, like overshooting temperature is the second largest reason for energy waste on kettle. The first one is overfilling, like if you only need one cup, but people put a kettle full of water. And for me, it's 45 every morning when I get
45.
up. So I schedule my kettle to boil to 45, and I will have a teaspoon of honey with a slice of lemon. In light of the Global Recycling Day, it's opportunity for us to come together, review a bit of a journey. We've launched the feature, and it's an important milestone. But running a startup business, I'm sure you well know that's only a new beginning. There is more work to be done. I suppose here is an opportunity for us to tell a bit about you and the story behind ICEEP.
For sure. I mean, I'm really excited to work with WeeKett. Okay. The first very interesting thing about WeeKett is that out of all the brands that work with us, you're the first consumer electronic brand to use ICEEP. Okay, which is very special to us too. It means that what we're doing makes sense to other industries and not only to the clothing and fashion space. So from ICEEP's perspective and from my perspective is like we need to get to, in order to address the problem of waste, we need to get going with the minimum viable loop. Just get started with what it means to have a minimum viable loop running. Okay, and many times like we might confuse this in terms of like design. You see it a lot in the fashion space, maybe in the consumer, like design for circularity, or do I have a recycling program? These things are things that will come later. Okay, what you want to make sure now, and what I'm trying to make sure is that we build a new consumer touch point with brands, between brands and consumers, which brands can value, can generate greater value and awareness for their company. And by starting that, we unlock the loops first phase, which is just closing the flow of the product. Okay. And I believe that after smart companies like WeeKett will see that there is a potential in component recovery, maybe in the electronic space, that's what we mostly talk about. Can we recover components from old kettles? Can we recycle elements of the kettle or recover materials from the kettle, the metals, for example? But really the first step is right from our side, and that's what I think Take Back is such a special thing, is like build that consumer touch point at the end of life, knowing that the brand I bought from has a very seamless, cool experience for me to return my used item when I'm finished using with it, and really create that experience. Like I think as brands are all about consumer experiences, right? It's not just about a product, it's about the experience of living the product, of interacting with my customer. So really leverage the idea that this is a really special touch point for a brand and its customers, and create it into a lovely experience, which we can all leverage to close the loop if you want.
I also think it's really good. For example, I would find myself in a situation where I'd be like, okay, what do I do with this, I don't know, old laptop, or what would I do with this product I have? What do I do with it? Whereas in this case, the customers will have an answer. Oh, this is what I do.
You have an option. So I'm generally really excited about this technology to enable small to medium businesses like WeeKett to be able to offer our customer an option to participate in reducing waste electronics landfill, and then also just to make this responsible disposal easier. Because as you know, in the UK, normally there are two options for people to do that. Say if their kettle has reached the end of a useful life. In theory, people are supposed to take that to the household waste recycling center, which are usually in the outskirts of a city, and you can only access by car. You can't just like walk in with your kettle. Hey, I would like to dispose this properly.
Yeah.
It's not allowed. And second would be taking it to a retailer like PC Currys, Argos. They should be able to take that, and you will see this instruction in a tiny font in many brands' packaging or user manual.
It doesn't happen that easily, to be
It
honest.
ends up in a curbside bin a lot, which causes contamination, ends up in landfill. There was BBC article saying like billions and tons of waste electronics and electrical equipments end up in landfill every single year, like namely actually a lot like toasters and kettles and many other small kitchen appliances. So I believe this is a very important step to empower and give consumers and business like brands who want to make a difference to be able to actually take an action and try to make a difference and tackling landfill pollution.
This is the one thing a brand can really do to differentiate itself from an e-commerce platform. It's really like it's a feature that a brand can it's a service and a feature that a brand can really authentically offer to its customers around the pain for consumers. It's a pain, like to have to take your stuff, you have to research where to take them, you have to take time off from your everyday routines in order to, if you want to do your fair share and keep things out of the landfill. So it's the opportunity for a brand to connect with its customers and deliver a service that is very valuable to them. So if you deliver on that, you increase your brand awareness, you increase the demonstration of your values. You're really there to support your customer in their product journey, in the journey of them experiencing the product. And I think that element really increases the value of the brand perception, if you want, on the market.
I absolutely agree with you. Customer experience is something that we really put emphasis on. And in the linear or / traditional e-commerce field, normally we pretty much lose touch the moment consumer makes a purchase and product has been delivered, assuming no issues. By closing a loop, creating additional customer contact point at the end of a product useful life, it can create a really rare and valuable opportunity for both the consumer and the brand / the manufacturer to gain real customer insight. For example, okay, so for all our products, it comes with 2-year manufacturer's guarantee, but how long do they actually last? Maybe they last for 3 years? That would be amazing. Do they actually last for 2 years? Do people actually keep it for 2 years? Some really valuable data points.
It's called a closed loop for two. There's three loops that are happening when you build a take back properly. You're actually closing 3 loops. You're closing the product loop, you're closing the relationship loop, and you're closing the information loop. Like it's all 3. If you build your take back in a smart way, you're actually closing all 3 loops, which are, man, it's so valuable to companies to
Absolutely.
have these 3 loops running constantly, uninterrupted, because that's how you will evolve as a business to make better products in the future for your customers, to build true loyalty with your customers, to keep your products close to you and not outside from your sphere of influence. And we talk about circular economy being a $4.5 trillion opportunity. I think this is where the business opportunity is, for brands. This is where the money is. It's like, I'm now locked in every element of my relationship with my product, my relationship, and my information is staying within the proximity and within the sphere of influence of the brand. And this is super valuable for any company, It's not.
Absolutely. There are so much research and data showing the opportunities in tapping into circular economy and a sustainable e-commerce. And I think it's a really exciting point in history for a lot of business, like in a challenging time. normally it's where a lot of great opportunities appear.
In the linear economy, okay, like the emergence of the internet, yeah, saw the uprising of a new type of e-commerce, right? Which really took, if you want, it kind of detached brands from the direct consumer. The relationship between the consumer and the brand got disrupted by the existence of e-commerce. I think the emergence of circular economy in the context of the internet will see the reemergence of a very close relationship between the consumer and the brand. Because now we've locked these loops so well, all of a sudden it incentivizes consumers to buy directly from their brands again. Because I have that relationship of solving the problem of what I don't want to put my stuff in a waste bin. I don't want to use a waste bin. Okay. I don't want to use a black bag. I don't want to throw things away. I'm an educated consumer. I just need a good service that I can share and I can rely on. And the one organization that I feel should be doing this and can do this for me is the brand that I bought the product from. So, and I think this direct to consumer relationship will unlock a new age of relationship between consumers and brands.
And it's really amazing that ICEEP has been able to build this technology for e-commerce business to integrate with existing platforms. So despite all the amazing opportunities suggested by data and research and even consumer demands, change in any businesses it can be very challenging and costly. So by having this technology, it's already massively reduced the barriers for a lot of business to actually step into a circular economy transition. But I do foresee like the challenge ahead.
We're going to have some work to do. We have good brands like WeeKett with us.
It would be amazing, like, you know, we click a button and now like all the trading just flow in, and then now the world becomes completely like circular. We would all love to see that. But the reality is most consumers are still accustomed to linear, like a traditional way of shopping. So there is still so much work to raise the awareness of the importance of engaging in a sustainable shopping experience, like a sustainable living, and also be more aware there are
behaviors.
Absolutely.
Behaviors.
And also be aware there are many alternative sustainable options out there, and encourage people to participate in it. And also from a business operational aspect, it's not straightforward either, because it also requires alternative setup and processes and systems from the processing, like warehouses. How do we deal with?
Yeah, from my perspective, my job as ICEEP is to help everybody in the chain integrate the tools that they need to make the flow of product happen. This first step, the first chain, is the brand. And all we need from the brand is to create that experience. Brands make amazing experiences, okay? They make amazing products and amazing experiences. So like what we just need is the brand to focus on what they do best, which is amazing products and amazing customer experiences, so that consumers can feel comfortable to return their stuff. And then my next step as ICEEP, and we discussed this a bit together, Chanli, is like to go to the warehouses and see what tools can ICEEP. We already have an idea, a set of tools, but what tools can we deliver to the warehouses to make that end-of-life flow of products easier for them to deal with? So that's it's literally our next step in our product range, if you want. We have an MVP there. We cut it back. We actually launched it and then we cut it back because we want to do more research there. And we hope to work with the brands and their warehouse providers. Like we said, I'll come to see you and we can go and visit them. And that's the work that we will constantly do to bring the digital tools that are necessary to everybody in order to deal properly with these end-of-life flows, if you want.
That's actually super exciting. As many people who work in the sustainable field is aware, this transformation, people need to partner up together, collaborate, because it works both ways. So whatever we do here, it will provide data and feedback to help ICEEP build better system, better programs. And then when you come up with the better versions, it will help brands like WeeKett in return to actually make the experience better for consumers. So it's also another loop in a way. I really resonate with that when you said one criteria ICEEP would put emphasis on when, like, which brands to work for. You've emphasized on consumer experience, and that's something we really value. A lot of e-commerce brands, it's just as something to stop people from writing poor reviews on the internet. It's important to keep customers happy, but it's actually so important for that feeds back to the rest of the business, because during these interactions with customers, there are so much information coming back, like how they use their products, why they bought their product, and
how often they
how they use it. Like, like when they approach us with an issue, they always like lay out the context. It's helped us learn so much about, oh, maybe our user menu or packaging needs to be a bit better, or maybe it's like how we program the kettle can be a bit better, so people don't get confused about which button to press. And even how they reach out to us. It's like all of these businesses spend so much money to like do surveys, but when you do customer service, they're just really happy to tell you everything. And it's actually, and customer service, it's so important.
And I think at the end of life is a very authentic moment to ask for true feedback. It's when they're like, look, this is the time I need to give you a feedback. I finished choosing what I bought from you. You need true feedback. If you're there at that moment, you will get true and valuable feedback from them, which will feed into your manufacturing process, into your design process down the road to make what you build, because that's your purpose, right? As a company, as a brand, to build products your customers love to use, like that's what brands do. And if you're constantly there to collect good feedback from them, especially at the end of life, you can continuously build products consumers love to use,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think that was the aim of ICEEP. It's like, let's make something simple that brands and consumers would love to use. Let's get going with that. And then once we get going with that, we will get the rest going too.
Now you've mentioned the reason behind ICEEP. So I think it's naturally we would like to tap into this question. So could you give us a bit of introduction or story behind ICEEP? How, and as the founder of ICEEP, how did the whole thing started? How did you ended up in the circular economy space?
The circular economy. That's a long story. So I've been an entrepreneur since 2014. So it's 10 years now. It's actually the 10th year now. And it's after 10 years, it's starting to look better. It was a bumpy and rocky road. But I got involved in waste management. So I had nothing to do with I studied hospitality management. I was a bit of a restless kid.
When you say you're a restless kid, so I can see, the beanie, the hoodie, and I can really see you just like, rapping and doing skateboarding on the street, like seeing your friends do like a fist pump, and that's my imagination.
That's a good image. It's a good visualization. I am down those roads. I mean, unfortunately, I don't have, in Cyprus, we didn't have a lot of paved roads, so we couldn't do skateboarding. It was more about football and basketball and beach volley on the beach. I grew up on the beach. But then I studied in Switzerland, and I finished my degree in hospitality management. And I got involved in waste because everywhere I went, like it fascinated me. It was the beginning of Elon Musk also. To be very honest, 2014 was the beginning of Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, and they were talking about conquering Mars and sending people to live on Mars. But you looked everywhere and we were unable to deal with waste. I was like, what is wrong with the world? And that really started me thinking. A friend of mine, I got involved with waste management in 2014 around energy recovery. Very long story. We will be here for a very long time. Around solving the problem of what do we do in countries that are like, we know that waste management in actual fact only works. The UK does not have a functioning waste management model. Yeah. I mean, London, especially back in 2010, you could see the bin bags piling up on the curb around London. The only real waste management models that we have that work are the Swiss, the Scandinavians, which are very wealthy countries, have a population that is the size of London. Yeah, I mean, and we're expecting cities like Jakarta and Sao Paulo and Beijing and Shanghai to somehow magically adopt this waste management system, which we know it doesn't work. Okay, and they've got to spend. If you're a developing country, you've got to spend on education. You need to spend on transport. You need to spend on energy. Waste management kind of falls down the pecking order pretty fast. And it only becomes a problem and a priority when the problem is so big that you're drowning in the stuff. And this is where we are today. We've reached a point where waste is so big, the problem is so desperate that we're literally drowning in the stuff. Yeah. And that's when waste became such a big problem. We're a bit slow on evolving. Circular economy, very long story. I got in 2019, I was in the Impact Hub in Zurich, and I pitched the concept that if e-commerce opened the gates to the world to sell our products, inverting e-commerce will be the way we will be able to pull our products back and start to look at more closed loop systems. So if e-commerce gave the birth to Amazon and Alibaba, a reverse e-commerce is what will help us close the loop. And that narrative went well. I actually said US has Amazon, China has Alibaba, and in Europe we're going to build a reverse e-commerce that is focused around the circular economy, and that is ICEEP. Okay, and then that's where the story began. I did 2 funding rounds. It evolved a bit. We also met Chun-Li back in the day. I built a mobile application. Yeah, it was outside the brand's sphere of influence. And then I realized, in actual fact, what I need to do, the whole thing is based on building the relationship between consumer and brands. I need to bring the solution into the space of the brand's website. I need to leverage the relationship that is really mesmerizing between brands, consumers, and products. Brands and consumers have a crazy frenzy for each other. We see it with brands like Apple. So we need to leverage that emotional connection that occurs between a brand, its products, and its customers to really pull back products from the market and then slowly build these loops. They're not going to be an amazing loop now. Maybe the first loop is really rudimental and everything ends up in a waste to energy plant, but it's a loop. Yeah, for me, it's a loop. At least we've closed the flow of a product. Once we've closed that loop and we've seen it happen, a bit like in any innovation, you start with an MVP. It's not the best thing, but you've started somewhere, you've built it, and you can evolve from it. Yeah. And that's what I hope to see now with brands moving forwards. If we built the first loop, let's see the flow of products. Like we said before, it's the relational loop, the informational loop, the product loop. We've all got them flowing together. And then slowly, information, relationship, and product will evolve into something better, into something more solid, more advanced, and we will see better loops create from that. And I hope to see that with WeeKett and with all the brands that we work with. And, I'm really excited about our collaboration. You have a special product, a special founder. You see the vision. We met in a long time ago, in actual fact, in the early stages. We kept in touch, and it led to this. And this is a special moment for me as a founder, and meeting you as a founder, and for the companies too. That is a very special moment. And I'm excited to the future together.
Absolutely. Yeah. I know we're in a working like from our respective offices, and then we're having like tea and coffee. But you know, I was so like when you said that, I was like, oh, cheers to that. Cheers
to that.
Yay.
To hot water. To hot water.
Perfectly temperature controlled hot water.
Exactly.
And a more circular world.
Yeah, at least, yeah. We decouple a bit the human evolution from the pressure it puts on our planet. I think that's the hope I have a bit for circular economy. I really think society is at a difficult moment, but circular economy can reduce a bit the pressure on that we put on our planet. And if we can build more and more loops and have fun doing it, then it's a good thing.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think when you said have fun doing it, that's also an important, I suppose, that's how you could carry on, 10 years on, try to have fun. Otherwise, like I think the startup space, it's so easy to get frustrated because nothing goes as planned, and it takes so much patience, perseverance. And I suppose, would you say that's a secret of yours to keep on going in this journey?
I think successful entrepreneurs, make it because they have a very strong surrounding foundation around them. I think I haven't interviewed many of them, but I think you need to have people that care for you and are willing to stand by you through your journey. Otherwise, you won't make it. You wouldn't make it without them. And I think if there's anything at the end of the journey, my gratitude will go to the people that stood by me through the hard times.
I can really resonate with you on that. Looking back at I think WeeKett just had its 6th birthday, and looking back the journey, there are so many people I'm thankful, grateful for, and it's not the same journey without them. So
How come you got involved in
in
WeeKett? Like, why so much the electronic the kettle space?
Yeah, so it might be the OCD in me, or maybe that's why I'm an entrepreneur. I'm the control freak inside me, that when I wake up in the morning, I have to do this. So before WeeKett, I was working in banking and had to be in the office by 7 a.m. in the morning, and I am not a morning person. And I would like to show up at the office and ready to roll and energized. It was a proper challenge, and I wish there was something like a kettle that would just, or a coffee machine that would just, when I wake up, there's already a cup of tea or coffee. That was the challenge I had. And I had this eureka moment when Amazon launched their Alexa. And one day I was just working away from home, and I was like, oh, I had this like light bulb moment, ding, what if? And then it just bothered me long enough. I look into it, and then I realized, okay, for me, it might be a first world problem. I just want to manage my time, my routine a bit better. But there are so many other people who suffer from mobility issues, and parents having to manage nighttime feeds, or just like tea lovers, hot drink lovers. This like a package of technology can do so much for. It's so versatile. It's literally. I'm definitely biased, but I think this kettle has got everything you need that a kettle should have. So,
Amazing.
Yeah, and it just like bothered me long enough that I decided, okay, maybe it's a universe sending me a sign. I should look into it, and here I am.